All right, guys, welcome back. So we're back again. I don't know that this video will be as long as the previous parts of this rooted series. A lot of the videos will be shorter just because it'll be like introductions to different sources that I found to confirm something that I was speaking on, a claim or assertion or what have you. So in the last video where we read through Africans and Afro Americans in the building of the New World, something of the sort. I messed that title up, by John Thornton, I believe. My first time ever seeing that source and reading it with you all. This is my first time seeing this one. I have tons of others too. Because, like I mentioned, I really want to start looking more at the transatlantic slave trade and all parties involved and sort of the process of that business. And that is what it was. And I found this record, which I don't know when this was dated, y'all. Hold on, let me download this. British interest. Okay, that's fine. What? Gotta be able to spell. My laptop is resting on my leg, so I'm okay. Anyway, let me go back because I want to see. Save this too. I don't want to. All right, so published in the early 1700s, but that may not necessarily denote when it was actually written. Okay, you too can find this again on Internet Archives. They need to give me some money because I'm plugging them like a mug. Anyway, no, I'm playing. All right, so man, very interesting. The British interest on the coast of Africa considered with the interests of other Europeans and the politics they used for carrying out that trade as to other nations. They all agree in this and establish joint stocks exclusive of all other their subjects with very great privileges and encouragements. The managers of those stocks have found it necessary by consent of the natives of Africa to erect fortifications and settlements and take all opportunities, especially the Dutch, who are the most politic and designing or designing people in the trade to increase their fortifications and thereby very much to improve their power on the coast. My. And I wonder if more of these documents specifically state that the natives of Africa. Because it's like, why would you feel the need to state natives of Africa instead of just Africans or the particular ethnic groups at that time, or nation states, right? Or tribes or chiefdoms or whatever. Like, it's interesting because if I am asserting, and hey, listen, the claims don't listen. Like I kind of stated in that other video, a lot of this is cogent, okay? But the conclusions may not be valid or true, even though my premises might be. And so you all are literally following along and seeing in real time me develop and build upon and support my own arguments, right? And so in a way, this series is also for me to challenge myself and to challenge my own beliefs and what I think is true. I think it's so amazing when in the conquest to prove yourself right, you're proven wrong. Or in the not conquest, in the quest to prove yourself wrong, you're proven right. I think that is something that is so well earned and just solidifies like concrete, the final conclusion of the matter or matters at hand. There's a lot of power in that. And so, yeah, listen, I'm not saying that everything I'm saying is the end all be all and the full truth. I'm saying, hey, let's ask these questions, let's pose these thoughts, let's figure these things out together. I have, the passions that I do with the beliefs that I hold especially when it comes to my morality and my belief system aligned with the Word of God. But at the end of the day, I'm open minded to the reality and fact that um, even some of those beliefs, could not necessarily be right, or there needs to be a change in understanding or whatever. But I'm going to stand on what I stand on, until that happens. And it ain't finna happen easily, okay? Because I standing on what I standing on, all right? Y'all forgive me. I know I've been such a freaking nerdy goofball in a lot of this stuff. I'm a square to a T, baby. It is what it is. But yeah, so y'all, that's interesting, ain't it? And I mean, this is just such a great thing to confirm what Thornton asserted in his work that we read in the previous part of the series. Interesting stuffs. Interesting stuffs. And as we know, as we explored from the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Dutch were one of the larger companies that were part of transatlantic slavery and the selling of slaves off the continent of Africa. Okay? So, yeah. Interesting to see because it's just more evidence and proof to the truth, okay, that, yeah, Africans took part, okay? They took part. They consented and benefited for a very long time through the selling out and selling of some of their own. But honestly, I don't think majority of them were actually their own, were actually African natives. I don't believe that. I gotta prove that. I know that. But I don't believe that. Especially because it's like, yo, we can't just throw history away. So if we know that enslavement of many forms and many times were happening on the continent, both through Greco-Roman, Arabic, which is, descendants of Ishmael, and Canaanite, Ham being one of the sons of Canaan, influence and rulership, we can't just throw away Egypt, right, in that captivity, and the Israelites being in captivity to the Egyptians. All of us weren't Egyptians, right? The Egyptians were a people for sure, and definitely much darker and different than, a lot of who you see there today, or in the movies, right? But we got to identify who these people were. And the thing is, these people that found refuge, mind you, well, Joseph rather, but going into Egypt originally, fleeing persecution elsewhere, these people were able to blend in so easily because they looked very similar. Again, skin folk, not kinfolk though. And there's many scriptures and there are many secular sources that prove that, and we'll get into that in later parts because I don't have it pulled up right now. And so, yeah, they were able to hide amongst the Egyptians because they were similarly complected. And it took some effort to really start to study and see the distinction. I don't think it took much because they practiced different customs and they believed in different things. And they were even partitioned in different areas of the land, but still very integrated into that nation, into that empire. And Babylon, I believe, preceding that, kind of the same thing when you look at Daniel and kind of his role with the king and all the things. Who was it, Nebuchadnezzar? It's kind of always been that way, So, yeah, we can't just throw that away and be like, yeah, this is just folklore. This is just some sort of Bible story. Like, nah, the Bible's real, man. It is. And history itself, right? I mean, it's everywhere, right? Egypt is is a real place, and their history is real, hidden also often a lot of times, um, or not even hidden, right? Because it's described all over the walls of their pyramids and what have you, but it's locked away, you know, deliberately. But yeah, so not many questions are being posed about who these people are and where they went in their exodus out of this place of bondage and out of this particular experience with bondage, where they migrated to. Did they all die off? Like, what happened to them? No, they didn't all die off. And so, if they're still on the continent of Africa, and we see that there are judgments with physical, literal, material, tangible proof and evidence of such, like that split rock and other things over there, to attest to the reality that this has actually happened, and a lot of these things have happened that are chronicled in the Word of God, then who are these people and where did they go? And if we know, like I was stating, that the result of a lot of their disobedience was punished in a way that was pretty spelled out in His Word also, and that we'd be going off into a sort of captivity in a land that our fathers nor us have ever known, and undergoing treatment worse than we ever have by way of ships to the west in the land ruled by the eagle. I mean, yo, that's real interesting, right? And so that's what I'm focused on, is trying to figure out how to bridge that gap and close it, really, between those times. And like I mentioned, so far I've only found a few sources that do that. But I know that I will find others. So trust me, I will in due time. But yeah, anyway, I think this is interesting. You know, a lot of alliances made, a lot of consent given, a lot of agreements, a lot of encouraging of trade to aggrandize and to bolster and to my. Oh, what is this? Whoa, the British inherent, the British, what? Huh, on the coast of Africa. Okay. It's like portions of the title that kind of got. Maybe this was empty, or this is the page on top of this to preserve the ink or something. I don't know. But yeah, check out this resource, y'all. Check it out. Check it out. Actually, you know, I'm going to link it in the description of this video when I upload it. Very interesting. That is the first time that I'm seeing mention of the term native in reference to those in Africa. Not to say that it's not out there. That's just my first time seeing it in a resource this old. So very interesting. But more evidence will be coming out. So stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment if you'd like. And be blessed.